Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. How are you doing, everyone? I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. For so many of us, I know the week was a very stressful one. But yes, we move. We're in Canada or wherever you are that you're watching us from. It's going to get better. The more you do, the more you thrive at whatever you do. So, yes, this week, first of all, I want to apologize for 2 weeks ago that I was unable to do the live show. Unfortunately, my guest was not able to make it. So we had to, it was too late to bring another guest at that point. But yeah, we're back again this week. We're back and better. And of course, I have listened to all my entrepreneurs in the house asking, when are you going to bring somebody to teach us about how to, be an entrepreneur? Because a lot of us here, we come and we just think of a business, we get into that business. And then unfortunately, because we don't have the know-how or we don't have the knowledge or the experience, then the business starts to die off or we are unable to continue. But don't worry, I have listened to you. I have brought to you today. For those of you following me, you know who I'm bringing today. I'm bringing an amazing personality that has not only done business and thrived at it, she is here to teach you how to. You can actually book a consultation with her if you have business ideas. And even if you don't have business ideas, just contact this woman and she will set you on the right path. So yes, you are in the right place today. Before I introduce my guest, for those of you that are OG on this show, you already know what we do. If you are watching us from anywhere across the world, please let us know, what city are you watching us from? What country are you watching us from? What is the time over there? Just, shout us out on there. Let us know what you're doing today after. For me, I have a gala, a lawyer's gala. So yes, I am a lawyer, and today we're having our lawyer's gala. So I'm going to be partying. I have my dancing shoes already. I'm going to be partying all day long. But anyway, that aside, please, when you are joining, let me know where you're joining from so that at the end of the day, I can mark attendance. I can, shout you out on the show. So anyway, you want to know who I'm bringing? Just wait one. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
How are you
Hi.
doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I am very good. So,
Great.
I am just going to introduce the amazing personality that is here today. Her name is Dr. Atinuke. And yes, Dr. Atinuke. And not just the doctor that, gives you shots when you're sick and all of that. No, 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 not any of that. This is a doctor that has gone to school. I've studied, I've mastered a craft and got a PhD. So it's not like I'm not bringing you just anybody today. So I'm just going to, let her introduce herself, tell us what you do, like just give us a brief background of who Dr. Atinuke is.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Atinuke, and again, Dr. Atinuke. I'm popularly known as Dr. Mommy. And like many of us, I'm an immigrant in Canada. I came a couple of years back, I think about 7 years. And I came actually for my PhD. So I earned my PhD from the University of Wales. And that was when I started my first business in Canada. Before then, I'd been doing business back in my home country, which is Nigeria. But then, coming to Canada and seeing the landscape, I didn't realize that there was a difference between doing, business in Canada and doing it in Nigeria. So I started out my business and I've since gone to see, so many gaps, especially when it comes to doing business as an immigrant. And so I started to talk to people, help them improve their services and their offerings. And yeah, that's basically what I do. I'm a community builder. I love, 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 love all of us, achieving things together and thriving. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy that I reached out to you and you were able to say, yes, of course, I can come. That was amazing for me because I know a lot of us, especially I will use Canada as an example because I am in Canada. It's difficult. A lot of people are living from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So most of the time, it just makes sense to have a side business, a side hustle. But for some of us, we don't have that know-how. We don't have that knowledge. We just jump into it without thinking about the logistics, without planning ahead. And that's why some of those businesses fail.
Yes.
Another thing again is a lot of us don't think about when you're starting your business, you need to get consultation from somebody that knows, that can actually tell you what to look out for, what to expect, those kind
Right.
of things. We are
Yeah.
now opening our eyes little by little to those things because, yeah, as a Nigerian, you don't want to pay for others to be like, is it not
I
just to sell?
know. I know.
Is it
It's
not
just
just
that
to
a lot
sell?
of times, what I found
Mm,
out is that if we don't pay for knowledge, then we'll pay for lack of it. So you're paying either ways, like, and the price for each one, I mean, varies. I think the price of lack of it is always a lot more. And I also started out not talking to anybody. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. At the time I came, it was more of a closed society. Like people weren't really willing to share. People were not, maybe they were not winning and there was no point. There was nothing to teach and, stuff like that.
mm,
I would say the crop of immigrants that have come into Canada since 2019, thereabout, have really changed the face of, being an immigrant in Canada. Like they just came winning. I mean, they didn't come, with that losing mentality. They just came winning, and they really changed the scenery for us, especially people that came before then. Because when I came, like I said, there was not much to, to write them about. There wasn't many people to talk to or to like that were doing things that would really show you that okay, this is the way. So for me, I had to learn the hard way. So I had to make all of those mistakes. And a lot of times when I talk to people, I try to tell them all of those mistakes I made. I, try to write it out. And now that we're talking about it, I think it's time to write a memoir where I write all the mistakes I've made in business, because I think it's really important that people learn from those mistakes and don't make the same mistakes. So for me, I'm half of the time sharing my experience, the mistakes I've made. I've gotten past those mistakes that I no longer feel so bad about them, and I'm happy to
mm.
share. Like so, I wholeheartedly share. And I also share some of the strategies that my business is using to win. And one of it is that many of us own businesses, but then the way we actually start off, like you said, is the way we do it back in Nigeria. I'm Nigerian, and I'm going to be making a lot of references to Nigeria because that's where I know. So most of us
Yeah.
just have a business idea, or maybe, okay, let me start selling item X. I can always get it in Dumota. So we've come up with the idea, we've figured out where to get it. So we have in our minds, we have our logistic, in place, our supply chain, that's the quick supply chain, we have it in place. And then I'm like, okay, I can always deliver it through, maybe not Nigerian Post. I don't know the one they use now, maybe like one of those, courier services right now. And yeah, I can send it, deliver to people all over Nigeria. So we've come up with in our mind, we already have our target audience. In our mind, we have, our marketing plan. In our mind, we have our logistics taken, care of. And that's how many of us just do it. And then we just start the business. And then, it's like, you don't know where your next sales is coming from. You don't know, you don't have money to like expand. You're using your personal funds. Maybe you have committed 100,000 into the business, and then it's not growing as you expect. So all of those things that I just talked about, they're the ways many of us start, and it's okay for us. But like if you start that way in Canada, you're setting yourself up for failure from the beginning. And for me,
Absolutely.
that's how I started. I started because I saw a need, I saw a gap, and I think that's always the best way to start a business. You don't want to do business and be selling or providing a service that people don't want. So when I saw the gap, I quickly thought, okay, I could fill this gap while I'm doing my PhD. This would take my mind away from all of those high level PhD stuff and all of those, supervisor things and things not working. I did a science PhD, so I did a lot of lab work. So there were days I would go to the lab and things would not work. And I was so pissed, like, spending 12 hours in the lab and you're getting zero results. So when I get back home, I'm always looking for something to, like really relax with. I'm a TV person, but I wanted my relaxation to also be bringing the money. I can't be relaxing for
Exactly.
anything. I can't be making money for someone else while I'm relaxing. So I just thought, what, let's start with this idea. And like the regular, Nigerian culture, I just started out. And the difference between me and many other immigrants is I quickly noticed that wasn't sustainable. And I quickly traced my steps back. And I did all the things I should have done in the beginning. I did it in the middle of my business. So it was 2020 that I, started to like really, really figure myself out and, get my business plan in place, my marketing plan, my high-level strategies and all of that. And it was at that point that I started to use other people's money to do my business. Before then, it was all about me, it was all about the things I had.
I will cut in there so that you don't give us all the tips at the beginning. Before we continue, if you can turn your phone sideways so that you can have the same kind of screen that I have.
Okay,
so we can see
the
face of who is talking
to us. Oh, that's
to
like
us.
upside down now.
Okay, it's upside down. Okay.
No, it's
Mine was
upside
in
down. I don't
between.
know why. Okay, you
Oh,
know what?
okay.
I think it's I have to change my sorry guys. So I have to change my screen. Okay. I have to make a landscape. I think that's it.
Yes, landscape. Yes. If
I
you
was trying
have
to
the,
just mutate it before.
because
So
with
now I
mine,
can mutate.
uh,
Change now.
yes,
Okay. Yes, yes.
awesome,
Sorry about that.
awesome.
I've
Yeah.
been looking at it like this is weird. Why am I small? But no, thank you for letting me do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So
All right, now we
let's
can
take it
see your
away like
face.
this.
All
Yeah.
right, so for those of you that are joining us, you know what to do. Please make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section because that's how we shout you out. I'm not going to know if you came or not. So, of course, put your name there. Let's know where you're watching us from. And please, please, please tell us what time it is. If you're from Australia, we want to know what time it is. If you're here in Canada, we have so many time zones that you can't even believe it. Leave it in the comment section so that we can shout you out at the end of the day. So now I know we're talking about businesses and what to do, what not to do. I was going to ask you because before you started saying, "Oh, my PhD was in science," I was going to say, "Did you do PhD in business, or how did you come about the idea? Like, this is what you're supposed to do to get your business going and to be successful. Like, is it something you studied in school?"
So, I mean, at the time I started my business, of course, I didn't take a PhD in business. I did a science PhD. I did food science actually, but I have this business background. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking of it much. But anytime I have to really reflect on my journey, I realized that my dad was a business person, and that's probably where I picked it up from. Because I got to a point in my life that I realized that for me to make the kind of money and be wealthy, the kind of way I want to be, I can't
Mm-hmm.
rely on my income. Like I can't rely on my salary.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm like, if I want to, for someone to be able to afford me and pay me my salary, I want to be that person to be able to afford other people and pay them their salary. To get my point, I'm like, there is no
Absolutely.
job, there is no employer that can pay me the kind of money that I want, the kind of wages
Like,
that I really desire. So that was the time
hmm.
that I really decided and made up my mind that honestly, for me to be at that point, then I have to be that person generating the income, generating the money, the revenue, and paying other people. So you get, so it was
Mm-hmm.
at the point that I decided, I have to be my own boss in the sense that I have to be paying other people's bills because you can't be wealthier than your employer. That's like the first thing that, really jigged my
True.
brain and was like, you
I
can't
like
be
that.
wealthier than the person paying you. It's not possible.
It's true, it's true, it's true. And here, back home, with the amount of money, because when you have relatives or you have people back home and you tell them how much you're getting in salary, they kind of convert it to
And I
Nigerian
think it's a
amount. So,
lot.
for
Yeah.
example, let's just put it in minimum that, okay, I'm only getting $1,000. Somebody would think $1,000, that's a million naira. You're getting that a month and already putting expectations on you. And for us here in Canada, with if you're getting $1,000 a month, you're pretty much broke. You have
Yeah,
zero
yeah,
because your rent
definitely.
alone.
Except you are living, except you are living in the old. But even if you are living in the old, like I don't understand. And for me, that was one thing that I also thought about. If I continue to place a demand on only my salary, then there's a problem. If
Mhm.
everything I have to pay for comes from my salary, there's a problem. And I always tell people that you never know what your business can be until you need it. There was a time I was trying to buy a property, and it was my business, EM Wigs, that bailed me out. I'm like,
Mm.
okay. So this thing that I
Awesome.
started yesterday, out of just wanting to do something different, could actually bail me out on a day like this. And that's why I always tell people that if you have the mind for it, even if you like, a lot of people feel like I'm not a business person and I can never be. And I always say, no, that's a lie. Every one of us have that that instinct, that little part of us that can actually do business. Like if you can negotiate at your place of work, if you can present solutions to people, if you can talk people to doing something, if you can advocate that people do something, like you can influence people, then you can do business. And I think that that's the first mindset that we really have to really tackle. There's some people that tell me, oh, I can never sell anything. Like my mom, she always tells me I cannot do business. And I've seen her do business over the years. Like I know why she said it, and it's because she's a benevolent person. She's very generous. She'll be like, if I'm selling umbrella and rain is falling, and someone passes in front of my store without an umbrella, I would call them in and give them one. Oh. And I'm like, okay, how will the money? So she's of the opinion that how will the income, like how would I make all the revenue that I'm supposed to generate if I've given half of it to charity? I've done charitable
True.
givings. But she's a teacher, or
Mm-hmm.
now she's retired, but she still teaches. And right now
Mm.
she's retired, but she teaches at different institutions, different schools for different reasons. And I
Mm-hmm.
begin to tell her, I started to tell her that this is your business. See, you're no longer teaching for the federal government or like the government. You're no longer that civil servant, but you're still teaching. You're offering your services to private institutions. You're writing English books that are being published by the biggest authors and Evans and all the biggest publishers in Nigeria. You're getting royalty.
Mm.
Mommy, that's your business right there. So let's get it
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you actually maybe open your own tutorial center, or you launch your own daycare service, or your own, secondary school, like high school kind of thing, private high school. And she's like, okay, I can actually do that, but maybe I'll still give tuition free to some people. I give scholarships. I'm like, we know that that's you. Then there will be an allocation for all of that scholarships you want to give. So
Yes.
everyone inadvertently have a sort they can do business. They just really need to sit down with people that can really pull that thing out of them. And ever since I
Mm-hmm.
relaunched my business advisory service, Entrepreneurial Solutions, I've seen that half of the people I've spoken to, I mean, this is about, it's less than a month, but I've spoken to so many people. Half of them are people that don't have business ideas or just think, I can't do business. And they've gone home with at least 3 business ideas that they can actually do, that they see themselves doing. After, having this conversation and fitting all of the things they are doing, they have done before, trying to understand their person, their personality, and who they are. So I'm of the opinion that everyone is a business person. You just haven't
Mm-hmm.
realized it if you haven't started doing business.
Okay, so now talking about that, when you're just using the analogy of your mom doing business and all of that, and what came to mind was for a lot of people, when you talk about business, I think there's a scare because what they think about is buying and selling, getting a shop, buying and selling. But the truth is, business could be anything. Myself as a
Anything.
lawyer, even though I am a lawyer, my law firm is a business. People
Yes.
tend to put their idea in, oh, it's a lawyer. No, yes, you know the law, but you have to know the business aspect. Otherwise, you're not going to thrive in that aspect. You could be a consultant. That is your business. You don't have to buy and sell. If you don't know the business aspect of that, don't know how to negotiate, don't know how to bill, don't know how to pay yourself for
Mm,
all the amount of work that you
mm,
do, you're not
mm.
going to thrive. So these are things that people have to realize. And if you don't know, look for somebody that knows. It's high time we gain that knowledge. Use
Yeah.
other people's knowledge. You said other people money, and say other people's knowledge to build your business. And that's
Yeah.
when they come
Mm,
to you, right?
mm.
So what with your experience about people, like is that the same with them where they're always thinking business about just buying and selling and they're not thinking of services?
Yeah, so a lot of people think, like you said, that business is about buying and selling. And I always try to really expand their horizon to see that it's beyond just buying and selling. In fact, it's getting to a point where buying and selling is really choked, that people don't even want to buy again. Like maybe we'll start
I
doing
know.
trade by barter, something like that. But I also try
Mm.
to expose them to the consulting aspect of things. Like I spoke to someone this week that just ended, and we ended up with 3 business ideas. And within one of them, there was a buying and selling aspect, but I even downplayed that and showed them more of the consulting aspect. Like you could be doing this, you could be doing that. And one of the things that we do is we just don't come up with ideas. We also come up with who are the people you can be doing this business with? Who is your target audience? Is this business to business or business to customer? Is this like how can you structure it? We go back to that part of structuring. And I remember you said something about people being scared, and that's a thing in Canada. Like people are really scared about starting businesses in Canada because they think the next day CRA is going to come after them. No, guys, CRA doesn't even have your time. Like, I legit registered a new business this week, and CRA hasn't come knocking on my door because that's not what they do. That's not how they do it. So, I mean, everything still comes back to what are you filing in your business for CRA to even think about you. And there have been people that have gone on for years without filing anything. CRA is not remembering them, but the day CRA will remember them, they'll remember them for good. So, I'm always, before you start, it's very important that we understand the legal implications of what we are doing. Even though, and that scares people, but then I'm quickly to say that it's not a lot. Like it's not legal the way you're thinking about it. I mean, if you register your organization through one of the, avenues to register in Canada, you're already covered when it comes to like the legal aspects. Like it's not until you sit down with a lawyer, and sitting down with a lawyer is not even a bad thing, but it's like people are always very scared when it comes to, oh, there's a lawyer in the mix, or there are
Mhm.
professionals in the mix. But I feel like we really can do better by, starting right. And that's the first step. Like a lot of us don't start right. We just start, like I said. So starting right is setting ourselves up for success. And that's where many of us as immigrants have to realize. A lot of us have forgotten that we're new to the country. Some of us are learning languages. You're probably learning French or you're learning English. And some of us have gone back to school to, gain new career opportunities. You have gone to take a tech course, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But then when it comes to
Mhm.
business, we just want to wing it. And this brings me back to the question you asked the other time, that did I study it? When I started, I did not study business. I was winging it like everybody. I had ideas. I mean, I'd done business like 12 years back in Nigeria before I came. And in my mind, it was transferable experience. I'd done business in other parts of the world, so in Europe. And in my mind, it was just good to just transfer it. But man, I felt woefully trying to just transfer it. But since then, I've gone to take on courses in entrepreneurship. I've taken some
Mm.
in Harvard, I've taken some in Conestoga College in Kitchener, taking some in a college in Calgary, and I keep taking all of these courses. Not because sometimes they're teaching me new things, but it's because I realize that if I don't try to keep learning, I would either be outdated, or there's some concepts you never really get the first time. So hearing about it
Mm.
over and over again really helps you. And that's like one thing that I like to tell people. Like a lot of us are so busy, and myself inclusive, I'm so busy, and I always tell people I'm sleep deprived, because a lot of people are like, oh, how are you doing it? You're super mom, you're this. I'm like, no, you don't get. My sleep is the one that is suffering, because every year I take at least one entrepreneurial course. At least that's my goal. So when we're making goals for our career, making goals for other things, I make that goal. I make also goals like I need to earn money for my business, that I mean, not earn. I need to get free money for my business in form of grants. And I
Okay.
put a dollar value to it. So those are some of the things that I, decided to do consciously. Because again, many of us just get into business without consciously getting into it. And that's something that really has to change.
Okay, so now I'm going to piggyback on what you had said earlier. So we're talking about starting business and starting it right. And when you're starting it right, one of the important things could be registration. And I've noticed that a lot of people have businesses, more than one, even if we start to count, and none of them are registered, because when you talk to them, they're like, "Ah, I don't want to pay tax. I don't want to pay." That's number one. Two things in life that is very sure is, one is death, and the other
Mm,
one is taxes. You cannot
mm.
run from it, because CRA could still find you sometime.
Yes, so
Now, there is also the important part that comes with registration of your business and paying taxes. You mentioned that there was a time that you wanted to purchase a property, and EM Wigs was the one that bailed you out. If your
mm,
business was not registered, it
yes,
doesn't matter
so
how much money you make from there,
yeah.
the lender will not take it into consideration. So I don't know if you can just enlighten people a little bit about.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And this is my sermon for the last, 2 years. This is what I've been preaching, because many of us, and my slogan is, I always tell people, it's time to get out of your kitchen. Many of us have remained, we're in the kitchen. For me, the kitchen is that place where you cook your ideas. And so you have remained in that place, and you're launching your idea from that place, and you're not getting out. I can give you many examples. Like within in Kitchener Waterloo, I'm in Kitchener. So in Kitchener Waterloo region, I established a community for Nigerian business owners, because I'm Nigerian, and it's easier to relate with people that that are like from your country. That's one thing I've learned. And we created that organization, and that community, and I would say we're like 100 people, but maybe less than 10 are registered, and it breaks my
Mm.
heart. So when opportunities come, these people can't take advantage because they're not registered. So
Mm.
the first step to starting right is, after you have that idea and you know that this is what you want to do, and you have validated the idea. You can have a trial period of like 3 months. I always tell people it's okay to try your idea out. Try it out and see if it is what people really need. Do your research. Research can be questionnaires that you're sending out to people in your immediate environment, people that are, not so close to you, that you have identified as these are the people that will need this idea. And the next thing is to go and register that name. The reason is because if you are not registered, there's really not much you can get. Like, you can't even face government. You can't even get grants. Like, the first grant my business won, I was registered, luckily, but I didn't even have a bank account. And those
Hmm.
guys told me, see, you need to give us your business bank account or this money goes to the next runner. And I'm like, hey, whoa, and it was because of that grant that I personally then opened my bank account. And so that's the next thing. When you register your business, don't stop at that. There are a lot of people that are registered, but do you know that their business income is still going through their personal income? So it's
Hmm.
difficult to file tax itself problem because they can't really, separate their own income from their business income.
From
And this
business.
most times is like sole proprietors, because the business is you as a sole proprietor and you are the business. People just feel
Hmm.
like, okay, I can pass this through my personal account. One thing I have done in the past, before I got my business account was I created another check-in within my personal account and just dedicated it to my business and be like, you know what, business money goes through here. And for me, it was because I wanted to be able to take accounts. Like, I want to be able to go into my business account any time of the year and say, this is how much we have
How
in
much I
revenue.
earn.
A lot of people can't
Hmm.
do it, or this is how much we have at hand, this is how much savings my business has. So the first thing is when you have that idea and you're sure that this is what you want to do. If not, sometimes you're not 100% sure, and maybe you register that business and you will not do it, you don't have business activity for 1 year. It's okay. When it's time to file taxes, it's okay to let CRA know that I did not have any business activity for the year. Therefore, I'm
Hmm.
filing zero. And that's the part that people don't understand. Like, if you did not have business activities for the year, you still have to file. Filing is that process of letting the government know that this is what you earned and this is your expense. This were the expenses. This is your profit, and this is what you can pay taxes on. If you do not earn anything, you can't pay taxes, and it's okay. The government understands. They know that in the first year of your business, you're probably still trying out things, and so it's okay. You have zero income. So people don't realize that until years after they're registered, and then they come back and then start doing that crash filing process of filing like 3 years in arrears, and then of course they put zero because they didn't have business activity. So the first thing I tell people is it's okay to register even when you're not 100% sure that this is what you want to do. But if you think that this has some, credit to it and it's something that will move, the reason is because if you don't hold on to that name, someone else is going to take it. I mean, registering your business is not the same thing as trademarking it, but it's a
Hmm.
first step. Like, if someone
Hmm.
else wants to register a business, there's a search they can do to see who is already using that name, and then they can be sure that the name is either in use or not in use. So I always tell people that the first step, even before anything, is just register that business, really. And there's organizations that have made business registration so cheap. When I
Hmm.
learned about registering my business, this was 2 years after when I started, and I'm not proud of it, but that's what happened, and that's some of the mistakes I made. And again, I've gone back to retrace my steps. One of the things I learned then was that it was so expensive to incorporate a business. Like in Ontario, you needed like $599 plus tax. And the first thing I thought of is, how will I pay $599 plus tax when I've not even made one kobo? But sis, recently, I found out that there's an organization that subsidizes it for you, and you can incorporate your business for as low as $180.
Wow.
I was like, no, you know what? And these are some of the things that you need
Information is
people that
power.
have gone ahead of you. Yes, to be able to give you that kind of information. Excuse me. To be able to give you that kind of information, you can never know it all. Like, sometimes you will Google. I know people are like, oh, I'll ask the internet. You will Google, and Google is not even smart enough to tell you some of those things. So that's the second thing to start, right? You really have to register. The third thing that a lot of us don't do is we just go into the business without having any plan. And this comes to your
Hmm.
business plan and your marketing plan. Like, who goes into something? Like, who starts something and does not count the costs? Like, how do you even know that you're succeeding if you don't have KPIs, you don't have matrices to measure your success? And that's what the business plan helps you to do. It helps you to plan
Hmm.
everything about the business. Some people are like, how do I know what the business is going to be like from the onset? I'm like, no, you don't. But you can think about it. The business plan is there to help you brainstorm and really think of your ideas, rejig those ideas. There's some very
Hmm.
thought-provoking questions you'll be asked, in filling out a business plan. And by the time you start thinking about it, like, if those questions don't come to your radar, you wouldn't know that there are those things are there to think about. So I'm always like, the next thing is to write that business plan. It's a document that is growing. It's not going to arrive at that point from the from the early stages, but it's something to start. And by the time you write it, you would continue to work on it because things will change. And then because you have that, that draft copy, you can edit it and improve it, And so that's like the third thing that you really, really, really should be doing. The other thing is, and that business plan will help you do it really. It will help you think of who your target audience is. People come into the marketplace, into the business place, thinking that because I'm Black and I'm offering this service, definitely all Blacks are my target audience. I'm like, no way. Like, you're really you're setting yourself up for failure. Like, not everyone that you think should be your target audience is your target audience. There is that thing of target audience, and then there's that thing of market share. Within your target audience, there's a market share. There's a share of the market that can really be yours. And a lot of times it's as low as 5%. So if you think there's like 1 million X people that are your target audience, only about 5% of them are your market share. Because really, let's be honest, are you really going to be able to market to all of those 1 million people effectively?
And then meet their demands as well.
Sorry?
I said, and then meet the demands when they come.
Meet the demands, exactly. I mean, as a small business owner, are you really able to meet all of the demands that you're going to get? So I always tell people, let's be serious, in being serious, let's be serious with ourselves. Let's not joke with us. Don't make yourself a joker. You're not a comedian. Let's be honest. Yeah, face the reality. Yeah, so that's another thing that is very important that a lot of people don't do. I'm trying to think of some other things. I mean, I have all of these things written, but they're not with me today, unfortunately. And as we keep talking, some of them will come up.
They will come to you and ask for these ideas.
And another thing is networking. A lot of people, just want to start business and be by themselves. That's something that we really, really have to stop trying to do. You can't do it all. You really need the power of other people. You have to leverage on other people. The other thing, sorry about the background noise. My daughter is having a time of her life downstairs.
Okay, someone is saying, can you please don't forget to share the link for the Business Inc. subsidy? Sure.
I mean, am I going to be able to share on this platform, or maybe we can just give them my Instagram page and then they can come there and they will be able to give all of that information. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say was also thinking that you can do the business on your own with your own funds. Oh my God. That's another mistake that we make, a lot of, and that's another way of not starting right, because you're coming to the marketplace thinking that my $1,000 is enough for what I want to do. By the time you register your website, which is another thing, a lot of people don't start with websites. I mean, we're in this part of the world that honestly, being online includes having a website. I don't want to have to come text you on Instagram or look for your WhatsApp number before I can do business with you. And there was an opportunity at some point, I think last year, within our community. The only qualifying factor was be in business and have a website. That was when we knew that people did not have websites. People couldn't take advantage of it. It was a marketing opportunity. Someone was going to write a blog and showcase Black businesses in the area. And the only thing she said was, give me your bio and give me your website link. How was she supposed to, advertise you without having a landing page for people, where people could visit you, see what you're doing, see your services, see your products, understand your why and all of those other things. And that's another mistake that people make. They go into business. A lot of times in Nigeria, I know that, again, I'm Nigerian, forgive me, is that a lot of us don't have websites. We're send a DM or send me a message on WhatsApp. And that is the rabbit hole that we stay in that cannot make us grow. Starting that way is a no-no. And that's another thing that I remembered, when I was talking about that whole networking thing. And, again, leveraging on other people's money, I talked about it before. I don't know if you want me to talk about it now.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
Talking about people not having a website. I remember when I was going to start my law firm almost 3 years ago now. The first day, I was just talking to a friend of mine that has also started. And one thing she told me that I've never heard before. I know that people go on Google and you just say, this salon near me, and it shows a lot of places. So she was like, have you registered on Google My Business?
Yes.
What's that?
Yes.
So she said, it's pretty much, if you don't have a website right now, this will give you a free access, a free landing page, just that one page that when people, of course, it's not going to be customized to fikemi.com, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to be a Google place that you can actually customize it with a color. It will be a landing page for your business. So when people Google you, they see the address, they see everything. And this is going to be verified by Google actually. And that can help with your business. You can upload photos every time of your business until you are able to create a website. I was like, wow. So I did create that. And then when I finally did my website, I was able to link it, and then it linked together. So if you Google me now, you see my website, you see everything. So even if, so that's why I said knowledge is power. Even if you don't have any of these things, it is very important for you to have that Google My Business. So if somebody beside you that doesn't, you're not doing any marketing at this point. Somebody beside you just says, whoever is selling akara near me, your name pops up. And then you get that income from there. So it is very important for us to be knowledgeable about this.
Definitely. And honestly, Google can do so much more for us. I mean, Google My Business is a game changer. And it's always funny when people are not there. But again, sometimes some people don't join, for instance, Google My Business because they're not registered. So they're like, I don't want, I want to be able to control the people that find me. And that's, how we just keep ourselves under and not grow. So, I mean, there's no need to be scared. Honestly, even if you're not registered on your Google My Business, there's no harm that will come your way. Like, nobody's really, really running after you. But like, let's be on the right side of law. I'm always saying, let's really be on the right side of law, and let's be registered. Sis, do you know that in 2020 there was an opportunity? It was like a grant, and I think it's still on. I'm not sure. I can check. The government had partnered with Google and Shopify, and they were providing small businesses free websites. Wow. As in, they'll create your website for you. They'll give it to you. Like, I think they would even give you a free domain. I think you would have the website for like 3 or 6 months for free, after which you now start paying. Someone like me, I didn't get the opportunity. I developed my website myself, my add-in money, my add-in hands, my add-in time. But people have then gone on to, really take advantage of those opportunities. But again, information is key.
It is.
I have like 2 or 3 business owners who started their business that way. And then they've gone to, expand their website. They have not been able to afford paid help with their website, and the ones that can't afford paid help are doing it themselves. So the first thing is we really have to put ourselves out there. You can't say you are doing business and then tell me your business email. I want to pay you via Interact, and then you tell me your business email is I don't want to mention someone's name, but atinuke001@gmail, because I know a business. I'm like, don't tell me your business email is at atinuke001@gmail.com or the girl is @gmail.com. Like, let's be serious with ourselves. Like, no, really. It took me a while also to have like an official email for my business on my business domain. And I added, let me tell you when I registered it when I was in a grant process, in a pitch process. I was going to, pitch to some dragons to get some money. And one of the things that the coach told us then was, if you are using @gmail.com, you can't qualify.
Just forget it.
And it was then I found out that it was cheap.
It's cheap.
I got 2 months free. I'm like, why did I have this information? It was until, they made us do it that I found out that I could get info@emwigs.com for what? And now I've gone on to get Atinuke@emwigs.com for like $14 a year. Really? Like, that was all I needed to make. And these are things that make us look serious, You're a small business. So don't come with the girl is too hot @gmail.com. If I want to pay you money and I see the girl I can change my mind, because I'm like, no, this can't be for a business. And I know that some people do, they have their business name, like maybe emwigs@gmail.com. It's okay. But again, with a few dollars, even Gmail can offer you a something for like $7 a year or something like that. Yeah, even Google Space and all of that, they've gone on to innovate. So I'm like, those are some of the things that we really have to put right, because if you don't take yourself serious, how will someone else take you serious?
Nobody will. And talking about websites again, so I'm a real estate lawyer, and I've seen people using their not just their own employment, but also their business income to be able to afford a mortgage. And I've seen situations where the lenders will then request for your website, request for your LinkedIn, and if you don't have it, they don't take you seriously. And now all of a sudden you can no longer use that business portion that you were hoping to boost your income with, so that you can qualify for a mortgage. So they would actually go online to ask, is this actually real? Then number 2, when I talk to some people, I don't want to be online, I don't have a business address. Guess what? Regis, when I started my business, it was during the pandemic, when it had just started, it was very hot. So first of all, I didn't want to put my home address because I was working from home at the time. I just went online and I saw Regus. I saw all kinds of office spaces that you can just rent their address for less than $50 a month.
Yes.
And immediately I signed in. I did, I think, 6 months at a stretch. So you can pick up your letter and you can even use their lounge for free, $50 a month. That just solved my problem. And then in these places, when you need a space that is very important, maybe you need to use their boardroom, you need to use an office, then you can pay for the day. But otherwise, your mails come in. You can even channel your phone calls through them. They can give you a phone call number where their own operator will pick it up and say hello. And then they
really, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah.
So these things are very cheap. And you will not know, because every time people talk about business, all you're seeing is a dollar sign. Dollar sign. So when I started my business, I didn't have all of that, but I have an office address, which ended up becoming my real office because I had already made my name under that address. So I had to then get my office actually in that building. So these things are things that if you don't know,
these things are things that honestly you really need to be proactive to find them. For the longest time, I think until 2020, I was using my personal phone number for business. And people will call me. I won't know if it's a business call or a personal call. Like, I won't know if when I pick up that call, it's my husband and I'm supposed to say, hey, babe, what's up? So it became a problem. I just went to Google, like, how can I think it was even someone that told me, I was just telling, and that's another thing, with business owners. I personally enjoy sharing my problems. Like, I tell people, like, I don't hold it to myself because half of the time, maybe I don't even have time to do that research. But I know that in telling someone, they always say a problem shared is half solved. So I was just telling that person, I'm tired of people calling my business line. I need a business line and I don't want to pay for it. I found a free business line. Now, when people call, it just goes there. I installed it on my phone. They will call me through that app. And when the call is coming, I know the person is either trying to sell something to my business or buy something from my business, And now I used it for free for like 2 years. And now I've gone on to, upgrade it by saying, okay, let me buy SMS service, because people started to, send SMSs, want responses by SMSs. And I started to do that. And that's like another thing I always tell businesses. Like, so we really have to be asking questions. We really have to, upgrade ourselves and take ourselves seriously. So now when I'm trying to fill a form or something and it's a business phone number, I know that it's not my personal phone number anymore, And that's another thing. It was when you mentioned it that I remember to say, because that's another thing that people don't know that they can do. And they're always thinking of, again, the dollar value to it. So all of those things are, there are opportunities, but you have to be like that one that I said they were doing free websites for people. I'm not sure they would have done free website for someone that wasn't registered.
True. And then talking about phone, one of the first things that I did when I started my business, because talking about that phone etiquette, it was because I am a very jovial person. If I pick the call, I'm the type of person that say, hello. Imagine if somebody's looking for a lawyer and you're there picking the phone and say, hello.
They'll be like, no, this one is not an esquire. This one does not it doesn't have necessity. So, as in, no.
It was the most important. So I had just got a brand new phone and I was going to sell this one, which is my business line. I was going to sell it off on Kijiji or something. And then it now happened to be the time that I opened. And I'm thinking, I don't want to pay a lot. So I was just going in the dollar, so I saw Lucky Mobile. $4. I was like, oh, so it's not a postpaid. It's pay as you go. You load $15. If it's done, it's done. You load $10. If it's done, it's done. And I put it there. It gave me, I think, 500 minutes for maybe $10 or $15. I was like, I don't need more than 500 minutes. Let me start with that. And that saved me. So anytime I'm picking this, I'm always like,
you're conscious of the fact that I have to wear my Esquire hat.
Exactly, Esquire. I'm not the dapper black woman hat. And then another thing is being able to separate my business time from my regular time, because people will call you even in the middle of the night, not caring. So I want to know that, okay, if my target is to have work between social time and social time so that I can have time for other things, then I have it. So after the time, of course, at the beginning, I didn't keep to time because I wanted customers from everywhere.
Right? I know. Point, customers have called me at 12 a.m. before. I'm like, what's going on here? Because because I have a website, so I advertise that I'm available 24/7. Because really, you can, without me being in store, like being available to receive your messages, you can go online and shop. And then one customer called me 12 a.m. I say, what's going on here? We have to change our
availability.
I did.
is before I will quickly pick the call, even if you call me in the middle of the night. Then later I realized that those people that call me in the middle, because you have to study your business and see the trend. I found that those people calling me in the middle of the night, they never end up becoming clients. They just call for not, and or even if they want to like lowball you to the minimum. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm not picking these calls again. It never ends up being well. So I wouldn't bother. And then, first of all, I am a lawyer. I'm not your doctor. So except you are dying, why are you calling me at 12 midnight? What am I supposed to do?
No, there are some law
two,
cases that you cannot
I'm
sleep
not a
at night.
criminal. I am not a criminal lawyer. So they're not locking you up to kill you.
Oh,
I am a real estate and immigration lawyer. In the
Mm.
weekend, nothing to do for you. Banks are closed. Everything is closed. So
Mm.
why am I picking your call? And so I started learning the trend of my business. But if not, if I was using my actual phone, anybody will call. Sometimes I get mad at my friends when they don't ask me first before giving my number. So they just give it to a client, and the client call me, and I'm so nonchalant on the phone. I will be so annoyed that, why didn't you tell me first? I would have given you my business card to give this person. So it is very important. First of all, it makes you very professional when you talk to your clients. Second of all, it makes you to learn the trend of how to handle your business. Third of all is it separates your business life from your personal. So when you need a break, you can get that break, right? So on a weekend, if I decide to throw this phone away, it stays there, and I have a little piece of mind to spend with my family or to go out and have fun. So, and at a cheap price. So later on, when I started my business started expanding, I realized 500 minutes is nothing, because 500 minutes is both somebody calling in and you calling out. Some guys will call 2 hours, they're still talking and explaining themselves. Then I added, okay, $25 now is unlimited call. That's not so bad a month. And these are all things that, in case you don't know, guys, it's all business expenses. You will not be paying tax. You use it to reduce your income at the end of the day. So these are things that I think people should start like asking for your number, asking for your phone now, so that they can note it down and they can come to you with those business ideas. Because at the end of the day, I know so many people that have like 5 million business ideas. Every day they are coming with, hey, what do you think about this idea? Tomorrow, what do you think about this idea?
They have to come and sit down with you. Let's flesh it up. Yeah, I wanted to quickly say something before I forget. You know, you were talking about being that your customer that was able to use their business, you know, to increase their income for their mortgage. And you remember that business has to be at least 2 years old.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people, that if you think of that idea, now is the time to legalize it, because in 2 years' time. So let me quickly backtrack. So when I needed to use my business income for, you know, that property I wanted to get, I was only lucky that the business was just 2 years. Remember, I'd done it like almost 2 years without registering. That was big. That was the time for me to just be regretting if I had gone maybe 1 month later before registering, because I'll be so frustrated knowing that this business could have been 3 years old by now if I had registered at the right time. So that's like one thing, like a lot of people can't really think of it, is in retrospect, is when you have made that mistake that you can now advise people and say, if this idea is coming to you strongly, if it makes sense and it looks like something that will make that money, register it now. Because it's one thing to have the business income, it's another thing for the age to be right, to be able to use it
at the time. Even now, I know because of the inflation in the market, some lenders are beginning to say 3 years. You have to have 3 years registered. Otherwise, they would not lend you, or even if they would lend you, they will not lend you as much as they would have lent you if you were.
Imagine, I didn't even know me. I'm stuck with 2 years. So that's 2 years that's really stuck to
me. You know, because I'm in real estate, I see all the time where they'll be like, you know what? If maybe they were supposed to borrow you 80% to buy before, now I'm like, now I'm only going to borrow you 60%, because I need to see the trend to see how you're making income and how it's coming in and coming out from your account. So now, I know people have been waiting for that part where we're talking about other people's money since morning. So it's that time. Just pitch to us what other people's money mean and how we can leverage it.
Can I take like 1 minute break? I need to take water.
Okay, that's right.
Thank you. I don't have anything on me. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. Problem. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So for those of you that are thinking, what is the business idea? What can I do? You know, when you have these ideas, don't keep it to yourself. Find a notebook somewhere, write it out. And if you require professional assistance, it is very important that you get that professional assistance. For a lot of us, we say, okay, I want to start cooking something small from within my kitchen. Yes, you can do that. But then you can also register it. One thing that is important that you have to note is it's not every income that you make as a business owner that you have to pay taxes on. It is not every income, because there's business expenses. So for example, let's say this year you started your business, you bought pots, you bought plates, you rented a kitchen for you to be making this purchase and to sell and whatnot. All of those are your business expenses. So let's say at the end of the year, you spent 45,000 on setting up your business, and your income was only, let's say your income was only 30,000. Now you're at a loss of 15,000. The government will not ask you for money. Once you put all those expenses in, you will not be paying taxes. If possible, the government will be paying you a tax return, right? So you have to be very strategic on how you plan these things, because that's the only way we can thrive. And as Dr. Atinuke was saying, nobody can be a millionaire from paycheck, going from paycheck to paycheck. Right now, if you are in the GTA, in the Toronto area, you know for a fact that if you want to get a 3-bedroom house, you're probably paying anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000. How much are you making in a month? So you have to start thinking about businesses. And for businesses, you will be able to use those businesses if they are properly registered, number one. If you are filing taxes, it doesn't matter if you are filing 0 or you are filing whatever it is you are filing. Don't be afraid of spending that little more, because then it pretty much skyrockets and pushes you to the next level. Number 3, there's so many grants, especially since the pandemic. There's been so many grants that have been coming up that even for Black people, Black professionals, Black entrepreneurs, small businesses, that you can take advantage of. You can take advantage of, but you cannot take advantage of that if you don't have a business plan. You cannot take advantage of it if you do not have a registered business, a website, or any of the things that we have talked about today. So it is very important that you take this seriously. That's the way we can build that generational wealth that all of us have been talking about. That's the way we can leave legacy for our children and yet unborn. So it is very important that we take entrepreneurship very seriously. Now, for those of you that are joining us, if you are an OG, you already know what to do. Please put your name in the comment section. Where are you watching us from? What is your name? What's the time over there? Let's just get to meet you. All right. So yes, now we're back to the topic of other people's money. Other people's money. How do you use?
Yes, I mean, this is the part that really, as in, people have been holding me by the neck because of this part. And honestly, it's so I will start with, I had a presentation during the week about the same thing, and I think it's about time that we, talk more about it. Let's not, I know there are other people that are actually getting these grants and they're not saying anything. Let's be more vocal so that other people can see that they can get it. So basically, grants are free money that organizations give businesses. And it could be not for profit, it could be private organizations, or even the government. The government, of course, is the largest funder. And this is what I call other people's money. You need to take your business to the point where you're not using your own money to run the business. I'm like, okay, so let me give you an example of myself. So I started my business in 2017 with 100,000 naira. It was naira because it was my sister that gave it to me. And, I always tell my sister, you don't know what you did. You sowed this, into my business. And she gave it to me. And then, 100,000 naira was $333 Canadian dollars then. And that was what I started my business with. And I didn't have, not like I didn't have money, but a part of me wasn't even ready to commit into, the business at that time, because honestly, that business started out as it was a joke. It was, let's just do this thing and fill the gap. And it has gone on to, get bigger. And from that, I was able to generate, a lot more money by myself. And when I started to talk to businesses or organizations about what I've been able to do, they had no choice than to, invest in my business. Now, we need to get to our business, we need to get our business to the point where we can talk to other people about it. And like we've already said, all of those things that we have said about setting ourselves up for that success is what we need. There are, and you mentioned it before, there are organizations that are waiting. Some of them is their CSR. I just want to give a small business 10,000 grand. I just want to give two small businesses 20,000 grand. So like big organizations and even smaller ones, some of them, that's all they, that's all what they live for. Like, okay, let the world know that we are, socially responsible.
We contributed to somebody's life.
Yeah. And grants, I always like to tell people that it's not only the monetary value. There's some grants that is in kind. Like I've applied for a grant before where one of the prizes was you would get free legal representation for 1 year. I'm like, nice. Although I'm not looking to enter trouble, but it's good to know that I have this, as a gift. I've also won a grant where all they do is they provide you money for digital transformation. You have to do that digital transformation that they have approved you to do, and then give you the money to say, this is what you have spent, and we're giving it back to you. Basically, they are like paying for your website, paying for your, or like everything you're buying nearly for your business that is, around digital transformation. And there's many others. I've seen grants where they're giving you business insurance. And we forgot to mention that. That's another thing that a lot of us don't get. We don't get business insurance. Oh my God. I actually know of a business friend whose facility got flooded. And he has $1 million equipment because he's into, showbiz, and all of those, they are big recording, everything. Yeah. Thank God he had business insurance. Maybe he paid $1,000 for a year for his business insurance. And they were able to pay him back all of the money that he lost during that flood. So I wanted to say that. So there was a grant I applied for where all they were providing was business insurance to the tune of X dollar amount. Just in case of anything, they would, be able to fund you. So I always, like to say this before we start talking about how to get grants, because people need to understand the various forms that grants come in. I know sometimes we're so myopic and we're like, if they're not giving me the cash, I don't want. But no, like sometimes, because if they don't give you those things, you still pay to get them done. For instance, if I didn't get free marketing from the grant that I got recently, I would have paid to market my business anyways. So if they are doing it for me, I'm keeping that money to myself for something else. So, and then there are different ways by which you can then get the grants. Sometimes you need to register for a program where they're going to teach you about business, for instance. Maybe you have a couple of sessions, you have a mentoring session, and then the program ends in a pitch, experience where everybody that successfully completed the program comes to pitch their business for a certain amount. Many of the times, these programs, especially if they are government run, they have enough money to go around. All you just have to do is show up for that program, and at the end of the day, pitch and collect money. But again, we don't want to invest the time. We're like, oh, I don't have time. I can't see it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't want to tell you how I'm able to attend some of these programs because it's illegal. But I do my best to just be there. So that's one way. Another one is, organizations would advertise and say, we have this money, we have 2,500, we want to give it to 10 businesses, apply. And then maybe it's an online form, or it's it's your business plan that you will send via email, or they will have a list of questions that they want you to answer to the best of your knowledge. And currently, I'm in the process of, putting together those questions, because I realize that these questions are recurring, but they come in different forms. And people don't answer them right. And that's why they're not getting the grants. So when I was introducing myself, I forgot to say that I sit on 2 boards within Ontario. And what we do is we give organizations grants. So I've gone from the stage of, and this came to me, I thought it was a good thing and a neat thing to do, apart from, really supporting the community. I also wanted to learn for myself. Apart from, being in that front end and applying for grants, I wanted to see what was going on in the minds of people that are awarding the grants. Because there are people like me, there are human beings like me that are, checking those applications and saying, okay, this is good enough, let's give it money. And it will amuse you to know that sitting on the back end, I see all the mistakes that people make. Like, why am I asking XYZ and your answer is going in the angle of ABC? People apply for grants without having people review their application. And there's a lot of blunders. I'm like, and then they ask you for like your financial statement or your financial plan. How do you want to spend the money? And you're telling me very unrealistic things. Why? People are not taking the pain to, like, if I say I want to use the money to improve my digital infrastructure. I want to buy a computer. I want to do this. I want to do that. Then you're telling me your computer is going to cost 2,500. Why? Like, can't you buy a cheaper one? I'm trying to give people money for something, and that's. But again, if that's what you want to say, then be ready to provide the justification why you cannot buy a $700 computer. It has to be 2,500 because maybe you need that particular strength for the kind of work you do. But then people just put it there and just go. So those are some of the things that I see on the back end. Again, there's some people that put things together that, of course, is unbelievable. Like, I know, I've not researched, but I know that this is not true. This can't be true. And it's not one person that is really looking at these applications. It's usually a committee of maybe like 10 people. If 10 people are thinking the same way, then sis, there's a problem, If all the 10 people are saying, we don't think this organization is going to be doing what they say they're going to be doing, then you really, really, really need to sit down with your application the next time and check. But the problem is many organizations don't give feedback to grant applicants. And that's because they're receiving 2,000 applications,
so many
10,000 applications. How many people do they want to give feedback? So that's why, I'm taking it personally on myself to really tell people some of the things I see on the back end. And I have this service actually where I'm helping people review their application, looking at those answers, helping you to suggest stronger answers. Because again, we're doing great things, but some people just cannot articulate those great things to the granting committee or the granting organization. And that's another thing. You're doing fantastically well. You're doing things that are really, maybe preventing people from dying, but then you can't toot your own horn. You are the only one that can toot. Nobody can toot it for you, And so sometimes we're just like that. Some of us back from Nigeria were so into ourselves. We don't like to praise ourselves, say the things we are doing. But again, I personally have started to learn that if you don't toot your own, nobody will blow it for
somebody else will take the glory for what you are doing.
Yeah. So we really have to get to that point to be able to say, you know what, I'm doing this, I'm helping people out of poverty, and I have to say it. This is what I'm doing. And so that the person at the other end can see why it should be you. And that question, why you, is something that a lot of us don't take seriously. Why you? I have 1,000 applications. Why should it be you? I always tell people you have to liken business grant application to scholarships or to a job application. Like, why should I give you out of all the people that have applied? So you need to have your strong points. And that's another place where a lot of people fail. The other reason that people are not, really applying for the grants is, again, they're scared. They're like, I won't get it. And I always tell people, it's a game of numbers. Like you said rightly, there's a lot of grants on the market. You can't apply for one and expect to get one. You need to be applying for like 20 and then keeping your expectation low and saying, out of 20, I'll get 2. And that's how to go about it. Grant applications are time consuming. But it gets to a point when you master it. And, getting to that point requires you to do the starting work of, actually preparing those documents, preparing answers to those questions that they will always ask. And then eventually you master it so well that you know that if you put this forward, it won't get it. But then if you put this idea forward, it will get it. So one of the things that I'm helping people to do is getting their business to that point. I mean, apart from starting right, being on that right track to be able to apply, because again, you have to be registered, you have to have a business account, you have a business plan. Many of them are asking about your business plan. Then the next step is actually helping people, like holding their hands to apply. I not really, helping people apply at this time, like, because there's a lot of organizations doing grant writing. But again, many of us don't even want to take advantage. We don't want to engage those organizations because it's not cheap. But one thing I'm doing right now is helping people review or helping people, answer those questions. Like, some people just don't want to answer the questions because they're like, I can't answer it well. So one service I'm offering is I can help you answer these questions, not for one grant, for that you can use for any other grant, and then you have your answers ready. And for some people, it's like, I want to apply for this particular grant. Can you review my application to see that I've answered the questions in the right way? Using my back-end experience. So that's something that we're doing. So again, finding grants is about searching. You have to continue searching.
Okay.
Like,
so now
half of the times I'm online, I'm searching for grants that I can apply for. And that's the thing. You need to be, you need to be on some mailing list. Get yourself on the place where they are talking about these grants. And one thing I'm also trying to do is, I realize that not everybody has the time to search, because again, I'm a researcher. So researching, I'm very good with snooping. So I'm using that that skill to put together all of those grants applications, all of those opportunities that people can apply for, and package it in form of like an ebook where you have access to it, and you can have like 50 grant opportunities you can apply for. Many of these opportunities are recurring. And if you don't get it this year, you can apply again next year.
Okay, so we're just gonna start rounding up because I can't believe we've spent over an hour. When we're talking about these kind of things, it's like we can be here all day talking about things that even I'm sure when we leave, we start remembering, oh, maybe we could have talked about this or about that. And that's where it becomes so important for people to, get your information, and then you will be able to tailor it to their peculiar situation. Now, the one that is very important that I want us to quickly talk about, maybe in 2 minutes before we round up, is pitching your idea. Okay, now you've put the application together, you've set up your business for success. They've called you because some grants, they will now want you, okay, we've seen your application, we have shortlisted 10 people. Now we want all of you to pitch, and then we are going to give 2 people the grant. Pitching is a big problem for a lot of people. Public speaking, being able to, even though they know what they're doing, but then they get those nerves to be able to explain what exactly they do and all of that. And I want to say, even me, myself inclusive, when it's not in my field, we're not talking about law or anything, it's just facing people that want to give you money and you're looking into their eyes, you get those nerves. So how do you successfully pitch your business?
Well, honestly, I pitched my business not less than 10 times and I still get the nerves. Like I'm nervous and all of that. And I think this is just, human response to it's a general human response to any situation where you don't know what to expect. But one thing I would say is practice. We need to get to that point that we can talk about our business and ask for that money in less than 5 minutes. You need to have your elevator speech ready. I know a lot of people say this thing, but honestly, you need to have it. And you need to have it. For you to have it ready, you need to practice. Like I've been in, and I've also taken trainings in pitching. And that's the other thing I will say. Like, I've said you need to, equip yourself with knowledge, with information. You need to take some training. I've taken pitching training where there's a master pitcher, or whatever, what do I want to call it? And then it comes to, really train us, teach us how to articulate our points and get to that point, quickly. And then after I took that training, I then, practice. Like right now, if you call me to pitch my business and give me 1 hour, I have my PowerPoint ready. Because I've done this over time, I've improved it, I've done this, I've done that. I have my speaking points ready. So we need to practice. I know some people have had to, engage in or like register with organizations that help their public speaking. If that is you, if that is what you need, then you need to do it. Because one very important thing you have to be able to do is have mouth for your business. Like your business is an inanimate object. It cannot speak. You are the only one that can speak for it.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I think that's the best place to just end this. Right now, we have talked about every important thing that you need at least to kickstart that business or to kickstart that mindset of, you know what, I can do it. And we'll just leave it there. So if people now that have watched this, they want to know how to contact you, can you give us like your contact information where they can reach you?
Sure. Are you going to be writing it down so that
you can just say because I'm using my phone, I don't have a place to type. But if you say your email, they can.
So my Instagram, first of all, which is like where everybody is at Empreneur Solutions. So it's Empreneur Solutions, and that's what I am on Instagram. I'm coming soon to Twitter very soon. I'm shy, I don't know, but we'll be there soon. And then my email is contact@empreneursolutions.com. So that's the same name. So my business name is Empreneur Solutions. Basically, we help entrepreneurs find solutions. That's all. So just type that into Instagram and you will see it. Again, we're just relaunching. So I had a name before, a different name that I relaunched. So we're not like yet everywhere that we should be. I mean, all of those things that you should do and you're not yet there. And we're not yet there because of capacity. I need to be ready for it. So again, on Instagram, we have our email. There's a phone number you can call on, but I'm not yet sure I want to make that phone number Empreneur Solutions. Let's still, contain it there. But reach out to me on Instagram. I'm always happy to, have that chat. On Instagram, you can book a free session with me. Yeah, I think it's very important to say a free 15-minute session. I have a couple of dates available on my calendar, and you can come and talk about that unique problem you're facing. One thing I try to do is to tailor the solutions to each person, because I know that what person X is experiencing is different from what person Y is experiencing. And this is what makes my offerings different from, the generic services and solutions that the government already has in terms of like small business centers and all of that. Like we talk about it, we iron it out. A lot of times, like with my 55-minute session, we iron it out before you leave. There's no going back or something. We finish we solve it there and then you can go on to, really do your stuff. So if you want to talk about how to register your business, I mean, this is something we can do within my 15 minutes free service. I can tell you, tell you about it, like the different structures of business, look at the kind of business you have and tell you the best structure. Because again, you don't have a business registering a sole proprietorship when your business has a high level of liability.
Yeah. So now, just to round up, in cases where people have already started their business, they are already doing, but now they're thinking about enlarging their coast. Is that also a service that you provide? People thinking,
yes,
you know what,
now
I want to start employing people. I want to move from my house into a place. Is that also something that they can also contact you for?
Definitely. That's something I offer. I mean, we also don't want you to be the only one in your business. We want you to scale and we want you to thrive. So those are things that we can discuss. There's opportunities for you to get free labor. Like government has grants for you, to employ someone else in your business. And we really have to be uncovering these things. We really have to be taking advantage of it. And those are some of the things, some of the things that also, help people with is trying to find that other person that can help them. Like you're having marketing challenges. While I do marketing for my business and I definitely have that experience, I'd rather you talk to like a marketing expert. And there's a lot of people in my corner. I've been here for like 7 years doing this, and I've met so many people. I've worked with different people, and I know who can really help me with X, Y, Z. So there's always, those connections that can go around that we try to connect people with. And all of those resources. Again, some people need coaching. I don't offer coaching, but I know business coaches who have also probably coached me in the past, and that can help you with that, because coaching is a longer term. I'm not ready for that, but we have people that can support you. But again, how do you know them if you don't get the information?
Absolutely. So we're just going to leave it at that. Thank you so much to everyone who left a comment. Thank you so much, Olawale Ojo. Thank you so much, Modupe, for joining from Nigeria. Thank you, Chris A. from Toronto. I appreciate you. Thank you, Temi Shoga. Thank you very much to everybody. And I'm going to give you back the rest of your day so that you can do whatever it is that you do on a Saturday. And have a fantastic one. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.